Hi everyone. This is Claire from Susan's family. Today I'll teach you how to make a flower branch curtain tea backs, pink and blue flower edition. For this electronic tutorial, you can search for Susan's family to view it. This tea back is divided into the base piece, flower branches, and accessories sections. Start by making the base piece, then make and attach the flower branches, finally add the accessories. First, let's make the base piece. Take a look at the finished product. Start by cutting the mesh board, then embroider patterns on the mesh board. After completing it, crochet the decorative elements. In practice, if you need to make 2 tea backs, the patterns on both base pieces should be identical. Please watch as I demonstrate the specific making method. Take out the mesh board. Match one hole on the mesh board to one grid square. Refer to the pattern chart, and count the number of squares corresponding to the base piece. Note that the actual length of the base piece is not fixed. You can adjust it according to the real situation, following the instructions on the diagram. Then cut along the lines of the mesh board. Be mindful when cutting, to avoid leaving any jagged edges. If there are any jagged edges after cutting, you can trim them to make them smooth. Ensure the edges are neat and clean. My sample here is already cut. The sample mesh board has fewer grid squares, so it's not for reference. Next, we'll embroider the pattern. Cut about 2 meters of the corresponding yarn and thread it into the sewing needle. For my sample, the color scheme is random. Please refer to the diagram for the specific yarn and color matching. Align the yarn tails. Use 2 strands of yarn together for embroidering. Pay attention. While embroidering, the length of the thread after folding it in half for stitching should not exceed 1 meter. If it's too long, it will be inconvenient for embroidering. If it's too short, you'll need to join yarn frequently. Take out the grid board. Make the side of the grid board that protrudes upward the right side. Use the flatter side as the wrong side. When embroidering, have the right side of the grid board facing you. Refer to the pattern chart, and embroider the first row of segments, from right to left. First, locate the 4th row from the top. Find the 3rd chain space on the right side. Draw the yarn through. Leave a little yarn tail at the back. Then go through the adjacent hole in the lower left position. That is, insert into the 4th hole of the 5th row. Slightly tighten it. Be mindful not to pull it too tight here. Keep the line flat. Avoid twisting it. This completes one segment. The corresponding color segments on the chart match the embroidered stitches. The squares where the ends of the segments are located are the insertion points. Continue by coming out from the adjacent hole on the left side of the 5th row. Pay attention to enclose the yarn tail at the starting position inside. Then skip one column. At the top right corner, insert into the adjacent hole above this segment. Gently pull to tighten. Another segment is done. Next, exit from the hole above. Insert into the adjacent hole on the left side of the 2nd segment. Slightly tighten the yarn. Follow these steps to embroider parallel line segments in the positions of these 4 rows of chain spaces. Sew these evenly aligned segments. After finishing this row, continue until you reach the 2 columns of holes on the left side. The threading order for these segments can be adjusted according to your own preference. Ensure that the segments are neat and even. Just cover the grid plate. During the embroidery process, if the yarn tail runs out, take off the sewing needle. And pick up the new yarn to continue embroidering. Before embroidering, you can secure the yarn tail in place first. Now we've reached this position. Exit through the hole on the top. Skip one chain space. Come out from the adjacent chain hole above. Then continue to exit from the adjacent hole on the left side. Insert into the adjacent hole on the bottom left. Slightly tighten. That's it for this row of embroidery. Next, if there is still some yarn tail left, embroider the second row of segments symmetrically. Continue downward following this method, refer to the pattern chart, and finish embroidering the remaining 3 rows of segments. Pay attention to maintaining symmetry in the direction of adjacent rows of segments. After everything is completed, weave the yarn tail into the wrong side loops. Tighten. Cut off the excess. This pattern is formed on the grid board. Next, embroider the edge. Cut about 2 meters of color 1. Use 2 strands together for embroidering. First, sew a few stitches on the back side of the base piece. Secure the yarn tail. Then exit from any position. Come out through the pattern edge chain space. Next, exit again from the adjacent chain space. Move downward. Repeat the method of drawing the thread from back to front. and embroider the entire edge. When you reach the corner position, you can pick an adjacent chain space and sew a few stitches first. Then pick the corner chain space and sew a few stitches. Cover the grid board at the corner position. Continue downward following this method, and sew the entire round. After everything is completed, sew a few stitches on the wrong side to secure it. This edge is now done. Next, crochet the decorations. Take out the gold yarn and the corresponding hook size. For the specific hook size, please refer to the paper chart. Place the base piece with the right side towards you. Insert the hook into any hole on the outer edge of the pattern, and draw the yarn through. Leave a section of tail at the back. Then insert into the adjacent hole on the left side, and pull the yarn through. Pull through all loops on your hook in one go, and you've completed one slip stitch. Continue crocheting slip stitches following this method. When you reach the corner position, simply follow along the outer edge of the pattern. Pick the next hole and crochet as usual. Continue crocheting all the way down to finish this round. Once everything is completed, leave a yarn tail of about 10 centimeters and cut the yarn. Thread the tail into a darning needle. Insert it through the first slip stitch braid. Then insert it again through the middle of the last braid. Tie the ends of the thread in a double knot close to the fabric. This decoration is now done. Everyone, take a look. This is what the completed sample base piece looks like. Next, we will make and attach the flower branches, including the flowers, leaves, and decorations. Let's start by making the flowers. Here's the finished product. There are two different types of flowers. The pink flower consists of a flower core, 2 layers of petals, and beads. The blue flower does not require crocheting a flower core. We will directly crochet 2 layers of petals. Then sew the beads in the flower core position. The petals are all crocheted using the Afghan stitch. Several crochet stitches will be applied, and they are all marked on the chart. I won't go over them one by one here. Let's start by crocheting the pink flower's core. Take out the corresponding contrasting color yarn. The contrasting color for my sample is random. Begin with a double magic ring by wrapping the yarn around your finger. Now, let's work on the first round. Start with 1 chain stitch as the beginning chain for the single crochet. The beginning chain does not count as a stitch. Then, pick up the loops and work 6 single crochets. After completing the 6 stitches, close the magic ring. Then, in the first stitch, work 1 slip stitch to join. Pull tight. The first round is complete. Now, let's move on to the second round. Chain 1 as the beginning chain. Work a single crochet increase into the next stitch below. That means working 2 single crochets into the same stitch. Tighten the yarn tail of the starting stitch. Then, in the stitches from the previous round, correspondingly work single crochet increases. Continue until you finish this round. Once completed, you can check the stitch count. Start counting from the yarn tail position. There are a total of 12 stitches in this round. Join with a slip stitch into the first stitch. Pull tight. You can cut off the starting tail directly. That completes the second round. The texture is different on the right and wrong sides. When crocheting, make sure the right side is facing you. Now, let's move on to the third round. Chain 1 as the beginning chain. Pick up the stitch from below, and make 1 single crochet. Then, work 1 single crochet increase into the next stitch on the left. The pattern for this round of crochet is 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet increase. Repeat the pattern. This method is called skip 1, increase 1. Now continue following this crochet pattern to complete this round. Once done, join with a slip stitch into the first stitch. Tighten. The third round is now complete. Move on to the fourth round. Start with 4 chain stitches. Then, wrap the yarn over your crochet hook. Yarn over. Insert the hook under the chain stitch braid, wrap the yarn again, draw the yarn through. Now you have 3 loops on your hook. That completes 1 yarn over. Continue with the second yarn over the hook. Insert your hook into the chain braid, yarn over and draw the yarn through. Another yarn over is now complete. You need to yarn over a total of 8 times here. Follow this technique. Complete the remaining 6 yarn overs. Once done, pick up with the hook the front half stitch of the stitch below the chain braid. Yarn over, draw the yarn through, pull through all loops on the hook at once. Then skip 2 stitches. Pick up the front half stitch of the third stitch. Work 1 slip stitch. Treat this chain braid and the yarn wrapped above as a flower core. This round is just about repeating the crocheting of this flower core. I'll demonstrate it one more time. First, crochet 4 chain stitches. Then wrap the yarn around the chain braid 8 times. After completing that, pick up the front half stitch of the stitch below the chain. Yarn over, draw the yarn through, pull through all loops on the hook at once. Then skip 2 stitches. Pick up the front half of the third stitch, work 1 slip stitch. Another flower core is completed. Continue all the way down using this method. Finish crocheting this round. For the last flower core, on the first stitch of the previous round, pick up the front loop and make a slip stitch. The 4th round is now done. Move on to the 5th round. Let's take a look at the wrong side of the fabric. Below the flower core, there are small line segments formed by half stitches left over from previous rounds. For this round, pick up these small segments and crochet them. Chain 1 is your beginning chain. Pick up the small segment below. Make 1 single crochet increase. Continue picking up adjacent segments on the left, and evenly work 2 single crochets into each. Skip 2 single crochets below, then make 1 single crochet increase. Work all the way around this circle. And when you're done, join with a slip stitch to the first stitch. Pull tight. The 5th round is now completed. Continue on to the 6th round. Pick up the front loop of the stitches for the flower core. Use the same method as round 4. That's it for the 6th round. You'll need to switch colors next. Chain 1 to secure. Leave a tail of about 5 centimeters, then cut the yarn. Gently tighten. Next, we'll crochet the petals. To start, join yarn for the 7th round. Take the corresponding contrasting color yarn, make a slip knot. Position it underneath the yarn tail. Join yarn on the small segment. Insert the hook into this segment. Pull the slip knot through. Adjust the loop size slightly. Joining is complete. Make one beginning chain to start. Pick up the segment underneath. Work one single crochet in each stitch. As you crochet, place all ends above the crochet hook and weave them in. Finish the round. Join with a slip stitch when completed. Tighten. The 7th round is complete. Move on to the 8th round. Work petals using the Afghan stitch for this round. Start with 6 chains. Begin working the first row below. Note: each back and forth of the Afghan stitch counts as one row. Each row consists of TSS and RP. Here, the loop on our crochet hook does not count as one stitch. Start with the knit stitch. Pick up the inside back ridge of the last chain. Yarn over, draw the yarn through. There are 2 loops on your hook. This means you've picked up 1 stitch. Continue picking the back ridge of the adjacent chain on the left. Yarn over, draw the yarn through. 2 stitches. Repeat this process to continue crocheting. Keep it going, mindful that the chains don't twist. 3 stitches. 4 stitches. 5 stitches. Now we've reached the position of the first chain. Similarly, pick the back ridge and crochet 6 stitches. Next, pick up the front loop from the previous round, the first stitch's front loop. Crochet 1 knit stitch. 7 stitches. The knit stitches for the first row, in forward crocheting are now complete. Start returning and begin reverse crocheting. For the first stitch, you'll need to work 2 stitches together as one. Yarn over, pull the yarn through the first 2 loops on your hook. That's how you complete the reverse crochet of 2 stitches together as one. Continue with the reverse crocheting. Yarn over, pull the yarn through the first 2 loops on your hook. Repeat this process. Yarn over on after another. Draw the yarn through both loops on your hook. You'll have 1 loop remaining on your hook. The reverse crochet is now completed. Everyone, take a look. This is what the first row of petals looks like after completion. Continue to the second row of petals. The loop on the hook doesn't count as one stitch. Pick the back ridge of the chain stitch from below. That is, this single thread on top. Pick up 1 stitch. This is the first stitch. Continue to pick up one stitch from the back ridge of the adjacent braid on the left side. Follow this method. Pick up stitches from the back ridge of the adjacent braid on the left. After picking up the last back ridge, go back again to the left and pick up one stitch from the front half of the adjacent stitch. Pick up one stitch, then make RP. For the first stitch, make a RP2 tog. Yarn over, draw the yarn through the first 2 loops on the hook. Slightly tighten. Continue crocheting reverse stitches. Yarn over one after another. Pass through the first 2 loops on your hook. Repeat until you finish this row. One loop will remain. Look everyone, the second row of the petal is now completed. The method for crocheting the third and fourth rows of the petals is as follows. It's identical to the second row. Work evenly. Pick up stitches from the V-shaped loops of the previous row. Finally, pick up a stitch from the front loop of the adjacent stitch on the left. Then work RP. After everyone finishes these 2 rows, work single crochets for the 5th row. Skip the back ridge below. Pick up the second back ridge from the left. Make 1 single crochet. Continue to the next row, 1 stitch to another. Pick up the back ridge of the adjacent chain on the left and work a single crochet. Work all the way down this row. Once completed, pick up the front loop of the same stitch below. Work 1 single crochet. Then pick up the front loop of the adjacent stitch on the left. Work 1 slip stitch. Slightly tighten. The 5th row is now completed. This petal is now finished. I'll demonstrate another petal. Start with 6 chains. Begin from the last chain. Pick up the V-shaped loops in sequence and work 6 knit stitches forward. Then, from the front loop of the single crochet stitch below, pick up 1 stitch. Then decrease. Yarn over on after another. Draw through both loops on your hook. Until there is 1 loop left on the hook. The first row is complete. Move on to the second row. Pick up a stitch from the front loop of the chain in the row above. Then pick up from the front loop of the adjacent stitch on the left side. Finally, pick up 1 stitch from the front loop of the adjacent stitch on the left. Then work RP. The second row is now finished. For the third and fourth rows, work in the same way. For the fifth row, start from the second front loop. Crochet 5 single crochets evenly across. After completing, pick up the front loop of the stitch below. Work 1 single crochet. Then pick up the front loop of the adjacent stitch on the left. Make a slip stitch to join. Pull tight. The fifth row is now complete. Another petal is done. Continue following this method to crochet the remaining 4 petals. After completing all, pick up the first stitch and join with a slip stitch. Tighten. The first layer of petals is now complete. Move on to the second layer of petals. The crocheting method is similar to the first layer of petals. For round 9, pick up the remaining half loops from the previous round. Work single crochets according to the pattern of increasing 1 stitch every 3. After completion, join with a slip stitch on the first stitch. Pull tight. Round 9 is now complete. For round 10, crochet the petals using the same method. Pay attention before crocheting. Pick up the adjacent stitch on the left, and work 1 slip stitch first. Then work another slip stitch. Transition the yarn tail to the petals of the previous round, approximately in the middle position. Continue crocheting the petals downward. The number of stitches here is different. When picking up stitches at the stitch position, just pick the corresponding stitch. Everyone, refer to the chart, and finish crocheting them. Round 10 will then be complete. Leave a yarn tail of about 20 centimeters and cut the yarn. Thread the yarn tail into a darning needle. First, sew a few stitches on the wrong side of the fabric. Transition the yarn tail to the center of the flower. Then exit from the center where you began crocheting. Sew a pendant in this position. The sewing technique is not fixed, just make sure it's secure. Tie a double knot on the wrong side. Leave the yarn tail for now. This pink flower is now completed. The blue flower doesn't require crocheting a flower core. After the magic ring, for the first 2 rounds, follow the pattern chart to crochet. My swatch is already done. Starting from the 3rd round, begin crocheting the first layer of petals. First, chain 5. Then pick up the front loop of the chain braid. Crochet and knit stitch moving forward. After completing it, pick one front loop from the bottom stitch. Then go back a stitch, yarn over, pass through the 2 loops on the hook sequentially, until there is only 1 loop left on the hook. The first row is complete. Move on to the second row. This row requires increasing stitches. First, crochet 1 chain stitch, then pick up the back ridge of this chain. Crochet 1 TSS. This adds 1 stitch. Continue by picking up from the front loop of the adjacent braid on the left. After picking up the last front loop, pick up the first stitch's front loop in the next round. Pick up 1 stitch, then work back. The second row is completed. Continue downward, work the 3rd and 4th rows evenly without increasing or decreasing. Use the same method as before. Pay attention to the last stitch of each row. It involves picking up from the front loop of the adjacent stitch on the left. Make sure to crochet all of them. Then move on to the 5th row, skip the first back ridge. Start picking up stitches from the second back ridge. Finally, pick up the front loop of the same stitch from underneath, then work RP. The 5th row is done. Continue with the 6th row, skip the first back ridge. Start from the second back ridge, correspondingly make 4 slip stitches. After completing, pick the front half stitch of the adjacent stitch on the left. Work 1 slip stitch. The 6th row is completed. This petal is now crocheted. I'll demonstrate another petal. Start with 5 chain stitches. For the first row, pick the back ridge and crochet a knit stitch moving forward. Finally, from the bottom stitch, pick up the front half stitch, pick up 1 stitch, then work RP. The first row is completed. Move on to the second row, start with 1 chain stitch. Then pick up 1 stitch from the inside loop. Work downward and pick up back ridge. Finally, from the bottom of the same stitch, pick up the front half stitch. Then work RP. The second row is completed. Work the 3rd and 4th rows evenly without increasing or decreasing. Crochet them all the way down. For the 5th row, skip the first inside loop. Start picking up stitches from the second inside loop. Finally, pick up 1 stitch from the front half of the same stitch. Then work a RP. The 5th row is completed. For the 6th row, start from the second back ridge. Correspondingly crochet 4 slip stitches in sequence. Then pick the front half of the adjacent stitch on the left. Make 1 slip stitch. The 6th row is completed. The second petal is now done. There are 5 petals in this layer. Follow these steps. Finish crocheting the remaining 3 petals. The first layer of petals is now complete. The crochet technique for the second layer of petals is similar to the first layer of petals. The only difference is the number of stitches. Pay attention before crocheting the petals. First, weave the yarn tail into the middle position of the upper layer of petals. Stagger the positions of the 2 layers of petals. All required stitch techniques have been demonstrated before. Refer to the previous demonstrations. Follow the chart to complete them. After everything is finished, cut a piece of sewing thread, insert it into a suitably sized needle. Sew a large purl at the center of the flower where you started crocheting. After securing it firmly, weave the yarn tail out from below the purl. Around the circle near the petal's insertion points. String 17 golden seed beads onto the thread. Insert the thread back through the starting point. Arrange the beads around the bottom of the purl. Then choose a few spots to sew and secure them in place. Once done, tie a double knot with the beginning and ending yarn tails on the wrong side. Trim off the excess yarn. The blue flower is now complete. Next, we'll crochet the leaves. Let's take a look at the finished product. Start with the magic ring technique. Crochet in rounds. While crocheting, wrap the yarn around a thin wire. The new stitches used include double crochet, treble crochet increase, and the CH3SL picket. Please watch as I demonstrate the exact crocheting method. Before we start crocheting, cut a piece of thin wire about 30 centimeters long, and set it aside for use. Take out the corresponding contrasting color yarn. For my sample swatch, the color scheme is random. First, make a double magic ring by wrapping the yarn over your finger. Then move on to the first round. Start with 4 chain stitches as the beginning chain. This counts as 1 treble crochet. Then pick up the loop of the stitch. Crochet 1 treble crochet. Wrap the yarn over the hook twice first. Then insert into the large hole from the magic ring. Take out the thin wire. Place it above the crochet hook. Yarn over, draw the yarn through. There are 4 loops on the hook. Yarn over on after another. Pull the yarn through the first 2 loops. Repeat this 3 times. 1, 2, 3. 1 treble crochet is completed. Move on to crochet 13 double crochets. Wrap the thin wire while crocheting. Then crochet 2 more treble crochets. When done, tighten the loops a bit. Place the thin wire together. Pick up the last chain of the beginning chain. The 2 strands on the right, work 1 slip stitch to join. As you crochet, place the thin wire between the yarn ends. Tighten it. The first round is complete. Move on to the second round. Start with 4 chain stitches as a turning chain. Insert below the starting chain. Work 1 treble crochet, that is, crochet into the insertion point of the slip stitch. After completing it, pick the adjacent stitch on the left, work 1 double crochet increase, that is, work 2 double crochets in this position. This double crochet increase is now done. Continue to pick the adjacent stitch on the left. Correspondingly, work 5 more double crochet increases. Then work 1 double crochet, pick the adjacent stitch on the left, work 2 treble crochets. After completing them, work 1 CH3SL picket. First, chain 3. Then pick underneath the treble crochet, where there are 2 strands of yarn. Work 1 slip stitch. This picket is now completed. Continue to pick this stitch and work 2 treble crochets. Then work 1 double crochet, and 6 double crochet increase stitches. Then pick the last stitch. Work 1 treble crochet increase. That is, work 2 treble crochets in this position. After completing them, slip stitch into the beginning chain to join. Pay attention while crocheting. Place the thin wire in the middle. Tighten it. Leave a yarn tail of about 20 centimeters and cut the yarn. Bring both ends of the thin wire together. Wrap the yarn underneath the leaf. Wrap for about 3 centimeters. Pass the yarn tail through the middle of the wire. Secure it with glue. Cut off the excess thin wire. The starting tail can be threaded into a sewing needle. And woven to the wrong side of the fabric. This leaf is done. Continue below following this method. Crochet the corresponding number of leaves and set aside. Next, make the decorations. Let's look at the finished product. It consists of bead branches and seed bead blossoms. Please watch as I demonstrate the specific making method. First, let's make the bead branch. Cut a piece of thin wire about 70 centimeters long. Insert one seed bead. Fold it in half. Place the seed bead in the middle of the wire. Tighten it slightly. Then insert a water drop bead. Mind to insert it from the wider side. Leave about 1 centimeter at the bottom. Tighten. Then on either wire, insert a pearl. The bead color can refer to the sample diagram, or adjust according to your own preference. My sample color scheme is random. Leave about 1 centimeter at the bottom. Fold in half. Tighten. That completes one pearl branch. Then take the 2 thin wires and twist them together for another distance below. Then refer to the diagram and make 2 more pearl branches. After completing them, continue merging the thin wires. Twist it down a little distance. Then pick one of the longer thin wires and insert a water drop bead. Remember to insert it from the narrower end. Then insert a seed bead. And then go back through the water drop bead. Adjust it a bit. Leave about 2 centimeters at the bottom. Tighten. One side branch with a water drop bead is done. Continue to merge the thin wires. According to the schematic diagram, complete the remaining side branches. After completion, tighten the bottom part. The main trunk of this bead branch is now finished. Next, take out the corresponding contrasting color yarn. Wrap it tightly around the thin wire. After wrapping an appropriate distance, secure the yarn tail well. Leave a tail of about 15 centimeters and cut the yarn. The thin wire can be cut with a little distance left. Apply glue to secure it in place. Tidy up the shape of the branch a bit. This bead branch is now completed. Next, make seed bead flowers. Cut a length of sewing thread, insert it through a beading needle. Then string on 9 seed beads. Leave a little thread at the bottom. After completing, pass the needle back through the first bead. Slightly tighten. Here, this forms a small circle like this. Consider these beads as one petal. This circle needs 5 petals in total. Follow these steps, and make 4 more petals. After everything is completed, continue using the sewing thread, sew and secure the bottom seed bead. After completing, tie a simple knot with the beginning and ending yarn tails. Leave about 5 centimeters of the tail before breaking the yarn. Then cut a piece of thin wire about 20 centimeters long. Insert it through a golden seed bead. Fold it in half. Then pass it through the center of the bead flower. Slightly tighten. Twist the wire below tightly. The flower center is now attached. Next, take out the corresponding contrasting color yarn. Wrap it around the thin wire underneath the seed bead flower. Make sure to weave the flower's yarn tail in as you go. After wrapping to your desired length, secure the yarn tail. Leave about 15 centimeters of the tail before cutting off the yarn. Trim the excess thin wire. This completes the seed bead flower. Follow these steps. Make another seed bead flower as a backup. Next, we'll assemble the piece. Let's take a look at the finished product. Sew all the flower branches to the middle of the base piece. Have the right side of the base piece facing towards you. Arrange the flowers on the left and right sides. Below the pink flower, sew the seed bead flower and 2 leaves. Underneath the blue flower, attach the beaded branch and 1 leaf. Please watch as I demonstrate the specific sewing technique. I'll use these samples to demonstrate the sewing method. The samples have fewer flower branches. The base pattern is random. It's just for demonstrating the technique. After determining the positions of each part, thread the needle with the reserved yarn tail from the leaf. Sew it at the corresponding position to secure it in place. Tie a double knot. Then, sew the decorations using the same method. If the wire is too long here, you can first pass the excess wire to the wrong side of the base. Adjust its position before sewing. Finally, sew on the flowers. The sewing method isn't fixed, just make sure to sew securely at the corresponding positions. Pay attention when sewing the flowers. Pick up the loops from the back side of the flower for sewing. Don't leave the yarn tails on the right side. After everything is completed, tie a double knot on the wrong side of the base piece. Weave in the ends. Everyone, take a look. This is what the sample swatch looks like after the flower branch is attached. Next, add accessories, including the buttonhole, buttons, and lining. Attach the buttonholes and buttons first, sew on the lining last. Watch me demonstrate the detailed making method. I'll use this sample swatch to demonstrate the method for making a buttonhole. The pattern on the base of the swatch is random, and no flower branches have been sewn on yet. This is just to demonstrate the technique. You need to crochet the buttonhole using 2 strands of yarn held together. Let's take a look. There's a yarn tail on both the inside and outside of the skein. You can hold these 2 ends together and crochet with them. Attach the buttonhole in the middle of any short side. Place the right side of the base piece toward you. With the side where you want to attach the buttonhole facing up, find the top row and the middle 2 chain spaces. Insert the hook into the right chain space and pull the yarn through. Adjust the loop size if needed, and leave a tail on the wrong side. Then crochet 14 chain stitches. Once completed, join with a slip stitch into the adjacent chain space on the left. And leave a 10 cm tail before cutting the yarn. Tuck the yarn tail to the wrong side at the joining position. Tie the ends in a double knot close to the fabric. and hide the knots on the wrong side of the base piece. This completes the buttonhole. Next, sew on the button. Attach the button to the other end of the base piece. At the middle position of this decorative stripe, cut a length of sewing thread. Insert a needle with a golden tail thread. You can sew using 2 strands of the thread. The sewing method is not fixed. Just make sure to sew securely at this position. Once done, take the beginning and ending tails of the thread, tie them in a double knot on the wrong side. Leave a little yarn tail, then cut off. This completes the button sewing. Next, we will create the lining. Since there is only one piece of lining fabric, you can watch me demonstrate first, and then proceed with making it. Place the base piece flat on the lining fabric. Pay attention to having the smooth side of the lining fabric facing up, the right side with the nap should face down. Trace the shape onto the lining fabric along the edge of the grid board. Be mindful not to move it while drawing. You can also press it down with some heavy objects if needed. Once completed, cut the lining fabric along a line 1 cm outside of the traced markings. Trim the lining fabric accordingly. That completes the cutting of the lining. Next, we will sew them together. Place the wrong side of the base piece against the wrong side of the lining fabric, for convenience in sewing. You can roughly secure them with some thread. While securing, try to avoid the edges as much as possible, so that it doesn't interfere with sewing the lining. I've already secured it in advance here. Now take out the sewing thread, and insert it into the needle with an eye. Start sewing from any position. Fold the edge of the lining backward. Pull the lining slightly taut to prevent it from bunching up. After folding, the edge of the lining should be about 2 to 3 mm away from the edge of the grid board. Begin on the wrong side of the base piece. Sew a few stitches on the edge loops to secure them. Then exit through the lining edge. Pay attention. The lining must lay flat and stick closely to the grid board, or be slightly taut. It must not be too loose. The folded lining needs to be pressed down securely. Then insert again at the corresponding segment of the edge. Skip a short distance before exiting the segment. Mind not to sew through to the right side. Pull tight, then come out at the lining edge. Pull tight again. Continue inserting. And exit. When exiting, draw through both the segment and the lining edge. Try not to show too much of the sewing marks. Repeat this process to continue sewing. The gaps in the sample swatch are a bit large for sewing. When you sew for real, you can make it denser. When you encounter a corner, fold the lining fabric. Then continue sewing. If the yarn tail runs short midway, tie a double knot on the segment. Then take another thread and continue sewing. The color changes and ends should be hidden inside the lining. Tie off and weave in the ends. You can remove the securing threads. That's how you sew the lining. Up to this point, the entire curtain tie has been fully explained. If there are any questions during the process, Don't hesitate to reach us via our website, Susan's Family, supporting your handwork experience, sharing the joy of life. Thanks for watching everyone. See you in the next episode.